Welcome to Good Policy, a series covering policies here in San Francisco and around the country that really work. My name is Christin Evans. I've been a small business owner in the Bay Area for the past 18 years. I am the owner of 2 stores on Haight Street, the Booksmith and the Alembic, a craft cocktail bar. I also serve on the board of Small Business Forward, a progressive coalition advocating for small businesses in San Francisco. Today, we're discussing the Commercial Vacancy Tax, also known as the Storefront Vacancy Tax or the CVT. I've seen this city move through several boom and bust cycles. Financial booms have always coincided with increases in residential and commercial property values. The speculative nature of tech finance in particular has created an especially heated market for land values in the last couple of decades. As these rents increase dramatically, tenants and subtenants face eviction as they struggle to keep up with costs. Very few small businesses own their properties or buildings, leading to their reliance on lease terms set by commercial landlords in an owner's market. There are many market forces that inform the success or failure of business, but a specific problem emerged in the early 2010s as a dramatic increase in storefront vacancies affected the vibrancy of our largest neighborhood corridors, which typically have smaller storefronts. 30 of these merchant corridors are NCDs, or neighborhood commercial districts. When storefronts remain vacant for an extended period of time, we feel the impact. We see an empty shell of the business that was there before. They suffer from a lack of routine maintenance. Graffiti, garbage, and other forms of blight correlate with a decrease in foot traffic, which impacts the economic vitality of the whole area. This issue only grows as more and more properties remain vacant. In our neighborhood alone, here in the Haight-Ashbury, we were seeing vacancies rise from 6 in 2016 to 21 just before the pandemic, and it peaked at 32 in early 2021. It was clear the city had to address the rising vacancy problem. Fortunately, former supervisor Aaron Peskin authored the Commercial Vacancy Tax in 2020. So here's how it works. When a storefront becomes vacant following an eviction or another precipitating event, the owners register their property with the city as vacant. They then have up to 6 months or 182 days to lease the storefront to a tenant or subtenant. If they do not, they incur a tax that grows incrementally over the course of the first 3 years. Depending on the amount of the frontage space, the responsible party defined in the lease agreement, usually the property owner, must pay $250 per foot of frontage in the first year, $500 in the second, and $1,000 in the third, as long as a storefront is vacant for the majority of the year. Sticks work best when balanced with a carrot. The Commercial Vacancy Tax revenue is earmarked for the city's Small Business Assistance Fund, which funds a variety of programs that support the operations and maintenance of San Francisco's small businesses. Those are the nuts and bolts of how it functions. An example of a storefront that was impacted by the Commercial Vacancy Tax is 1600 Haight Street. That's a building that has 5 vacant storefronts at the base level and housing above. The first 2 storefronts that went out of that space were vacant for more than 10 years. And then during the pandemic, several of the other storefronts became vacant as well. When the Commercial Vacancy Tax went into effect, we started to see, finally, after years of inactivity, some marketing of the property, and those spaces filled in. Now we can point to a success where 4 of the 5 storefronts are filled in. And this isn't an isolated incident. We have seen several other NCDs return to their former vibrancy following the pandemic, including North Beach, Japantown, the Marina, and the Mission. In Washington, D.C., the vacant real property tax, as well as higher blighted real property tax different tiers of vacant properties according to the extent of the building's blight for their property value. For every $100 of assessed value, a vacant real property must pay $5 in taxes and a blighted property $10. Those taxes are distributed to a similar small business fund. Oakland adopted a similar tax as well back in 2018. Through their static fees associated with tiers of property types, the city has an estimated revenue of over $7 million. Not all commercial corridors are considered NCDs, or neighborhood commercial districts. Downtown, Market Street, and Soma are not NCDs, and we find that these vacancies persist in this area of the city where the tax is not collected. Moreover, it would be inaccurate to say that all NCDs are thriving as of 2025. Going solely by instances of vacancy, Castro Street is an outlier as an NCD. Where comparable NCDs like North Beach or the Mission, Castro Street still has approximately 36 vacant storefronts at 192 locations. One possible explanation for this discrepancy in vacancies is pretty straightforward: speculation. Property owners largely bear the brunt of vacancy tax, and while this motivates many to focus on filling their stores as originally intended, some behave as though these stores are lines in an asset ledger instead of anchors for the local community. When we hit our next boom, the property values of our neighborhoods will rise, and so will the rent for tenants. An absent speculative property owner, whether an individual, a real estate trust, or a corporation, could run the numbers and find that they actually win out if they inflate the rent of their property and wait for that one perfect business to come along, instead of marketing the space and making it more accessible to a broader community of entrepreneurs. Instead of coming to the negotiating table, they allow their buildings to fall into disrepair and foment blight for their neighbors. As a city, we value investing in our communities. Our small businesses are where we run into our neighbors, strike up a conversation, and learn what's going on with one another. It's these small moments that allow us to make connections as community members. While an issue as complex as vacancies can't be addressed by one single control, we must recognize that a vacancy tax is not only effective at addressing commercial vacancy, but it helps provide a safety net for small business owners. It won't address every cause of vacancy, but it has already helped so many. And that's why it's a good policy.